Hello, I'm Summer Ocean Wolf Cyprian, and this is Jaguar Star.
Hey.
And she's here today to talk to us about the work she does with women, and it sounds beautiful and fascinating, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hey, so it's been a really beautiful moment to speak with Summer and talk about our joint passion for women and well-being, the sacred feminine. And my journey has been very much one of the medicine woman healer, through my medicine woman and healing work, and then through craniosacral therapy. I got really involved in pregnancy and birth. And it was amazing to me because already when I was leaving school around 16, 17, and I was being asked what I should do, I had 3 things that came to me, and one of them was to be a midwife.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And at the time, I had no idea, didn't know anybody who was a midwife. I hadn't seen a birth. It really dropped from nowhere. And I was writing a lot of poetry and always writing a lot and journaling. I'd been journaling since I was 7, and so I wrote a lot about all these inspirations and ideas I had, and
Beautiful.
I used to meditate, and it just came, and I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do with it, so I just left it, just right there, and actually became a dressmaker and went into some
cool.
dance and performance work and joined a circus and stuff like that. But yeah, then later while I was deepening into my yoga, my healing work and the cranial work, that came back.
Yeah.
And I began working a lot with pregnant women, and I thought, well, I have to explore this. So I went to India and spent some time at a birth center there, which inspired me even more. I loved being in India, spent some time dancing there, and I was exploring the connections between embodying ourselves, my cranial healing work, and my own feminine journey as a woman. And then I ended up going to South America, spent some time with a midwife in Ecuador.
Wow.
And that's kind of where my journey started.
Wow, that's amazing. And just hearing that, like what that brings up for me immediately is how rich the experience and the background has to be in order to really do work like that. That it's not like I just left school and then did this and then did this. It's like, and what I hear and I see in a lot of people is this frustration that I haven't found my path yet, you know. And I think that you're embodying that wildness and that freedom to be able to do a lot of things before you really know. What can you say to that?
Yeah, I feel like when I first had that feeling to be a midwife, probably the most direct sensation I had was, wow, well, I'm too young for that. And I haven't experienced myself as a woman. I haven't experienced everything that it means, all the rites of passage that is about. And I feel like in the last 10 years I've been on a deep journey of exploring really, what does that really mean for me? And that's given me this very deep, fertile ground of being able to understand women, whether they're birthing, whether they're mothering, or whether it's about other rites of passage, because
Beautiful.
we've really, some of us are more connected to that now, but I feel like there's still such a gap between our modern way of living and the ancient rites of passage about our sacred feminine ways. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that gap?
Well, what I've seen is that often a lot of women I've met, when they become pregnant, is the first time they even think about what it means to become a mother, what it means to have a child, or what their own birth was like. And I feel that my own exploration of releasing birth trauma and connecting in with the power of the womb, the power of menstruation, the feminine cycles, that's been a journey of really deep empowerment. And so it's something that I feel really would be wonderful if we could embrace that as early on as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love this. I see a lot of similarities in my own journey, and also a lot of women I respect is that it's almost like you need to touch on that creative writing, and then you need to touch on the movement, and then you need to touch on the immersion in the body to get to where you really understand what it means to be a woman. And then what that brings up for me is that artistic level of femininity. What is a woman's artistry? And it seems to be a theme running through a lot of the divine feminine work. And I know you spoke a little bit about yourself as an artist. Can you tell us some of that?
Yes, well, one of my big passions is midwifing the soul or essence into being, or birthing ourselves into being. And that can be birthing a child into being, that can be birthing a project into being, that can be birthing our love into being, making space for that love. And I found that for myself in that process, I started to reconnect with what I'd loved as a child, and singing and dancing and writing and poetry, and started to bring that more and more into my work with women. And I realized, wow, our voice, our song is a healing tool. And lullabies and singing for our children, singing for ourselves. One of the Mexican midwives I learned with, she talked a lot about the medicine of cacao, raw cacao. She talked about song, and I was like, wow, it's right there. She's a midwife, and she's talking about chocolate and singing, and isn't it wonderful? It's right there, and it's not. I feel like it's a natural part of what it means to be a healer and a medicine woman, and spiritual midwife is actually also dance and song, but it's also part of what life is about. It's not separate from life.
And lately it's really been I'm seeing this in a lot of my clients who are women, and in my own life and my friends, is that re-owning those female skills that at some point in the last period of our development as modern people, they became archaic or outdated or unnecessary, or why should you know how to cook something beautiful, or why should you be able to make clothes for someone, or all those things. And there's a real power to having that ability to care for the little ones and the other women and the men in the community in that way. And it was quite revolutionary for me to actually have that thought, because that's not what you hear from mainstream media. Have you experienced that similarly?
Yes, well, often I've talked to women, and I've seen that what we most need is to bring everything back together, so that our profession and our love and our family and our creativity isn't so split anymore, and that we own those parts of ourselves again. And something that I've loved doing is getting in touch with empowered creativity, bringing our creativity back into all aspects of our life, and also the importance of bridging the physical and the subtle realms, that they're both equally important, that our work in the physical realm is just as important as the work in our unseen or subtle realms. And something I love about the work as a midwife and as a medicine woman, that nutrition and yoga and the physical body and body work and breath and all those things are just as important, as the inner work with the energy system and with our guides and with our innermost workings of the heart, and learning how to listen and how to communicate at a level of soul, which is a really important part of my work.
I'm hearing balance. That's a big word.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Okay. We might wrap this one up and then start the next one, because I want to hear more about your apprenticeships with the midwives.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Check us out in part 2.